we're talking about different styles of learning, different modes of teaching. We're now looking at having different types of people at the workplace.
Yes.
And so apprenticeships is one route in.
Yeah.
But it's been much maligned.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's always perception was if you didn't want to go to university, you went for an apprenticeship, which is wrong because these are really skilled people. But you took it one step further, didn't you? You set up the Baim Apprenticeship Awards.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued because two things come to mind.
Yeah.
Firstly, why?
Yeah.
And secondly, in a world where we encourage diversity, aren't we now saying, well, actually, these awards are only for Baim people, therefore it doesn't sound very diverse? Or there must have been a reason behind it that you thought this was something that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So maybe your thoughts on the Baim Apprenticeship Awards.
I mean, our journey in Ninder started in 2016, where at the time it was called Asian Apprenticeship Awards, as opposed to Baim, and we've sort of migrated into the word Baim. And you and I will probably remember, in terms of you were talking about ethnic minorities, we used to use that word ethnic minority before. Then we had BME, Black Minority Ethnics, and so forth, and BEM and Baim and so forth. So these words interchange, but we're talking about sort of ethnic minority people. In some areas, even though the ethnic minority, there could be the majority. We're in a city part of Birmingham where is predominantly the majority. But what you find is that for certain qualifications, there's not the right representation. So the government did a study, and Sachin Javed at the time, who was the business secretary back in 2016, encouraged businesses and encouraged employers and encouraged the learning providers to grow the number of people from an ethnic minority background, Baim background, to take on the opportunity of apprentices. And what we found was that there was a stigma, particularly with regard to the branding of apprenticeships. So when you spoke to people, and it's not just about employers, but also parents, the individuals themselves, the young people, and people generally, they couldn't really define the apprenticeship programs, and a lot of them talked about blue collar jobs. A lot of them talked about people who have failed at college, and people and the word earn and learn came in and so forth. So people didn't regard apprenticeship as a first choice. They regarded it as for people who've got no choice really. So there was an element of the branding, and perception in people's eyes. And there was also a lack of understanding in terms of, what how an apprenticeship can benefit you in terms of the long run. So it wasn't just about a job, it's about career. So there's an element of really, moving people away from thinking that it's a job to a career. And that required role models. And what we said was that the best way to sell an apprenticeship or an apprentice program is through apprentices themselves. And how do you do that? You highlight good practice. You highlight the individuals that are in the marketplace and make them leaders, pioneers, and bring that out as role models so they become award winners. So our job really was firstly to how do we create interest in this marketplace. So the first thing that we thought about was that yes, we can badge it very easily as Baim, and we have now, but at the time, we wanted to communicate that message, and marketing is all about communication. You know this better than anybody, Ninder, and it's about communicating that message to that audience. And we felt that if we added the word Baim Apprenticeship Awards, we may struggle in getting that message across to certainly parents and the young people, because that word at that time we felt wasn't common language. It wasn't in our language generally. It was a word that was used in industry. It was a word, when you're at your LEP meetings and so forth. Definitely, it was a word that you were using, and we were all used to it, but not to our target audience. the people that really matter, the people who are going to come in and so forth. So we took the decision, which is a risky decision, and this is where the entrepreneurial came in, because I don't think any public sector organisation could have done that at that time, and created this initiative called the Asian Apprenticeship Awards. And we tested the market, and we looked at government, and we wrote to them to say, this is what we're looking to do, this is your policy that you've got, we've read through this is what we're suggesting, yay or nay, thumbs up, is this something that you would encourage? And most of them came back. Justin Greening and various other ministers at the time said, yes, we encourage you, we support you, but we can't financially support you or anything like that, but we encourage anything to do with diversity and giving people opportunity and social mobility. So we started our Asian Apprenticeship Awards, and at the back of that we got collateral, because people, particularly the Asian community at the time, it relates to the word Asian, British Asian, and we were able to celebrate those young people, and they became then the role models and allowed us to really push the agenda further. And we carried on with that name until sort of 2019, and we then rebranded as Baim Apprenticeship Awards, because the name Baim now is familiar and so forth, and we're now looking at the other communities as well. But British Asians traditionally were underrepresented in apprenticeship programs, but what they were overrepresented represented in university. So there's a lot more that were going to university, and a lot of them that were also NEETs as well. So you had NEETs is not sorry to use the jargon. So people who are not in employment, education, and training. So those are what we define as NEETs, and again it is a jargon that's used in the industry. So people who are not working, not studying, and so there's an overrepresentation there. And there's an overrepresentation in university. But what happens with the university then is, then there's a lot of them then who are not are underemployed really, who are then they come out of university and then they find themselves very difficult to get the jobs because of lack of experience, or there's a lot of people who've got degrees, and it becomes a competitive environment, and what they haven't got is the skills, or they haven't got is the experience, because everybody's got that qualification, and then what you've got is too many people with the qualification, and it wasn't matched to what the employers wanted. So so you're trying to solve that problem as well, and what you need really is to people from a younger age to look at apprenticeship as an alternative choice, as not because they've got no choice.